Hello, welcome to Town Meeting TV. My name is Ken Signorello, and today we are here to talk about the Article 5 question that is on the Essex annual meeting ballot. Maybe Kevin could bring that up so people can see it. Article 5 is a question that would change our Development Review Board from 7 members to 5 members. Members of our community, I have 2 of them with us here, 7 to be exact, actually collected signatures on a petition to put this on the ballot. So I'm going to introduce our 2 helpers, 2 of our 7. We have Betsy Dunn and Cheryl Van Epps. Why don't each of you introduce yourself a little bit, give us a little bit of your background and why you are willing to get out there and pound the pavement and knock on doors to put this on the ballot. Betsy.
My name is Betsy Dunn, and I have worked in this community as a nurse at the hospital delivering babies. And I have been on Conservation and Trails Committee when I retired. And I have found I was really interested in how decisions got made, and I started getting involved in going to all the planning commissions and the select board meetings. And it dawned on me, as well as the others that are here and that aren't with me, that we have a problem in Essex, that the DRB is just too big and unwieldy, and that there's an overlap between the membership with the Planning Commission and the DRB. And I thought that that's a little bit of an ethical problem, and I thought maybe this would address that.
And Cheryl, so you're a town resident and you help with the petition signature getting. What is your connection to the town?
Well, I'm a 21-year resident of the town of Essex. Just to give you a little bit of my background, I'm a healthcare advocate. I had a major health event happen to me, and I wanted to advocate for better quality healthcare. So I was in that kind of arena, but when I found out there was development taking place in my neighborhood, I started to become involved in the Essex town government, and I attended planning commission meetings, DRB, which is Development Review Board meetings, and select board meetings. I was trying to learn what are the processes of the government, how do things happen, how does our government operate? So that kind of brought me into this arena to see how, and what can I do as a resident to ensure that our decisions being made are fair and just. So.
Thank you. And for those who don't know, there are 4 others who actually participated in getting signatures. I was one of them. I'm Ken Signorello, and I'm a 20-year resident of the town. And so let's talk about the question itself at this point. So the question, of course, is how did we get here? And there's a little bit of history. For those who don't know, our town was set up with a planning commission and a zoning board of adjustment. Our planning commission doing double duty, more or less. Our planning commission was creating regulations and applying those regulations to development applications. About a year ago, our town appointed a charter change committee. A recommendation was made to go to the DRB Planning Commission model, where the Planning Commission only does regulations and the Development Review Board only hears applications. And that recommendation was made to have a 5-member Development Review Board and a 5-member Planning Commission. And when the question finally got put on the ballot for the charter change, somehow or another it was morphed into 7 and 7. And then it turned out that 14 people did not apply, so we ended up with 7 and 7, but 3 of them happened to be the same person. So that's how we got where we are, and why did we put this question on the ballot? Betsy.
Why did we put this question on the ballot? The Planning Commission is the group of people that make the rules. And the DRB are the ones who ensure that those rules are being followed. A judge and a legislator. And when you are going to go home or go into a break area, the judge will always say to you, don't talk to anyone else. Keep it to yourself what you're thinking about this when you're doing the review, so that you can come into it with ethical, not just planning it between two people. And this is what's happened with having 3 people on the Planning Commission and 3 of those same 3 people on the DRB. It makes it so that they have advanced knowledge. They also have knowledge if a person who's on the DRB they're working on, they know that there's someone who wants to do an application or a new development, and they know that they're going to have a problem with one of the rules. They can actually go back and wear that other hat and become a planner and say, well, let's look at this regulation. And they can make the regulations work for that person by sharing that knowledge with one another. We had an instance where one of the two of the people who were on the DRB were working in the Planning Commission, with the Planning Commission, and they said, you know, I'm not really sure should we be here because we're doing this. It's kind of fuzzy for those people themselves. And we just need to make it clear. And the clarity is having 5 people who are for the Development Review Board and 5 for the Planning Commission. No overlap. And let them do their work that they need to do.
Thank you, Betsy. Cheryl, do you have another rationale for making this change?
I was wondering if I have a few things to add to kind of flesh out what was just
Please
said
do.
there. I attended a DRB meeting just January 15th, and you could look at the YouTube video recording of the meeting, or you could check out the minutes once they come out. So some of the persons who were overlapping the Planning Commission as sort of our legislator, and the DRB, I guess they call it a quasi-judicial group. So the overlap there, the actual person themselves was confused which hat they were wearing in the meeting. So yeah, that actually did occur. What else can I add to it? I had heard that there was a backlog in the work that the
Development Review Board or the Planning Commission?
I
Maybe
believe
both?
it was the DRB, so that they were trying to push through a heavy load of applicants pushing it through. So that requires a lot of time for them to review the applications themselves. I took a look at a few, and they were in the hundreds of pages. So there's a lot of details that these board members are required to look over and to become informed of what's going on with that application. So I guess my point is, if they're required to do that strictly for the DRB, their duty as a DRB member, it must be overwhelming to have
Both,
both
if you're serving on both.
the Planning Commission duties that they're required to do in addition to. I don't know how much are they getting paid for that. Are they volunteers?
I believe it's the town has a stipend of $50 per meeting
Well, so that's a lot.
if
That's
you
a
ask
lot.
for it. Yep.
In addition to their full-time jobs and family life and all that, that's a lot to ask. of folks.
Betsy, have something to add?
Yeah, the Planning Commission, prior to the charter change that we made, had their
both-
time
they
was
both functioned.
They were both functioning on the same time frame. They come in on a Tuesday and they work for an hour and a half, and then they come in on another.
I think twice a month they were
Thursday.
meeting, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
And so it was one of the things that I realized about them was that they weren't working on any planning. They were just focused, because of the overlap, I believe, of applications for development, they weren't working on any of the rules that have become so out of date or so not brought to forward, because two of the things have been very important that they kind of glossed over, and they need to be able to just work on their area 5 and 5, what the Charter Commission wanted, and no overlap.
So here's a question. So the question would reduce the Development Review Board from 7 to 5. There are 3 members that overlap. How is it that the 2 that would be removed from the DRB reduce the overlap?
Well, they'll bring it down to 1 overlap. And actually, when they first made the DRB, they said, well, we'll operate with a person who's previously been on the zoning commission, so that we get into what we understand how it works, and then they could drop off and just leave us with the 5. And the other thing about
So it's just fortunate that the 2 that are expiring happen to be of the 3 overlap.
yes.
Their terms are up.
Yep,
And
yep,
the
yep.
other
By
thing,
expiring.
And by statute, if you're expiring, by statute, if you reduce the number, it's the ones that expire that go first.
and the other thing is that they had 14 applications for the
14 positions.
positions, but we have just cut ourselves in half. We don't have 22,000 people any longer in Essex town. We have 11,000. And that makes the pool of people who are going to apply and do a volunteer work on these committees is reduced.
Yep.
So the 5 makes more sense for that reason as well, in making sure that you don't have any holes in your committee, because you want a full functioning committee. And because this is important work to the people of Essex and to the business owners in Essex and what they are going to be able to do. I think it's really important. People don't realize how it is that I encourage everyone who's watching this or you hear about this to come and go to a meeting and just see what it's like. It's an eye-opener.
So our town puts out a little newsletter. Our staff produces it. And in that newsletter, it actually said that the 7-member board that we have now was recommended by the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board, the previous Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Adjustments. True? Not true?
Well, to have our new Planning Commission and the
B7 and 7.
B7 and 7, well, they did indeed talk about it. But in the committees I've ever been on, once you've talked and finished your conversation, you have a question to put a question to the committee.
Were there any
What's it
boards
called?
that officially voted to go 7 and 7?
They never had a vote. They never even put up I'd like to make a motion to have a vote.
Only the Charter Change Committee.
Only the Charter
then
Change
the Select
Committee
Board, of
did
course,
that.
obviously.
And so that's like screwy as well. We need to have 5 and 5.
All right, so you guys went door to door, and we all did. What was that like? You know, it's a tough thing to go door to door, depending on the neighborhood, obviously. What was the experience like, Cheryl?
I was amazed when we arrived with our clipboards. First of all, you're met with suspicion. What do you want? So it was a little challenging to just maintain neutrality and to show I'm not from one political party or another. So that was the first thing, just describing our government. So we had to first introduce ourselves and say we're here because we want to make a change in our local
Did people know what the DRB was or the Planning Commission?
So that was the next step. Then we had to describe what the Planning Commission is and what the DRB is. And you've already heard us say again and again. So the Planning Commission is more or less, they draft and oversee the regulations. DRB, they actually take those regulations and apply it to the cases that applicants that come before them. to review the application, give it a thumbs up or the thumbs down. So they're more or less the judge. So once you explain that, then we tell the neighbor about the membership. So there's 7 people on one board, 7 people on the second board. However, 3 of the same people overlap on both boards. So we explain, well, actually at that point, we don't have to really explain much. Something clicks in their minds thinking, shouldn't there be a separation in those powers of the 2 boards?
Interesting.
So then we explain the 3 overlap, and that our petition is to decrease that overlap instead of 3 down to 1.
Out of every door you knocked on, let's say it was 100, how many happily signed the petition? As a percentage, rough percentage.
I would say once I got past once I started
that.
describing the 2 boards, it was almost like, I'd say 90% wanted to sign it. And we explained to them, we were just getting the question on the ballot, that they still were free to vote yes or no, once it's on the ballot. So I thought many of the folks who, once you got past that description, saw the logical,
Betsy, was your experience any different?
No, pretty much the same. I had one person who was just totally opposed. He just was like, I don't want to talk about any of this. Done with that. But it was, they didn't, when I knocked on the door, explained who I was and why I was walking around with this clipboard with a pencil in my hand, well, pen. They didn't know anything about the ballot measure, and they didn't know what a DRB was, and they didn't understand the roles that they play in their own lives. Because
We have a caller.
There. Oh,
So I'm going to take this call,
okay.
and I hit the answer button, I hope. Hello, caller. Please identify yourself and ask your question or make your statement.
Yeah, my name's Bruce, and I'm from Essex.
Hello, Bruce.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
So, okay, well, first of all, I'll confess to having been on the Charter Committee, and we specifically recommended 5 and 5 for a reason, to try to break up what we thought was a lot of cronyism occurring on the Planning Commission. We thought there should be fair representation on both sides, and we didn't favor the kind of overlap we got. Now, I'm just wondering, Essex is the last town in Chittenden County to have a DRB. They resisted it for years. Now we finally got it. I think those on the select board who voted for this kind of overlap have tried to sort of dilute this separation of powers. What's the experience like in other communities in Chittenden County and the state? Do they have this kind of overlap between their planning commissions and their development review boards? Thank you.
Thank you for calling, and we'll get an answer for that, I hope. I think somebody's done that research. Who checked? I think somebody said there were 21. I think our staff did, if I'm not mistaken. Betsy, what did they do?
They actually called different towns and municipalities, and 21 had no overlaps, and they thought that was a crazy idea. When you talk to people, they'll tell you these things. They're not at the meetings. And in Chittenden County, I believe that, as Bruce was just saying, that we have DRB now in all of Chittenden County, and there's no overlap. I think that it's important for us to pay attention to that. There's a reason for it, and the reason is that you need to have the clear, make it an easy, ethical thing for people. Don't make it, oh, can I talk about it here now that we're talking about this, we're talking about that over there in the other committee, but I can just shut off my mind. That doesn't happen.
The one thing about a judicial process, if I understand it correctly, is that a judicial body is supposed to make its decisions based on the evidence presented to it, nothing coming from outside. You're not even supposed to go and do any investigation on your own. It's supposed to be strictly on the testimony provided at the hearing. And here we have 3 people on this judicial body who are actually also on the Planning Commission and will have potentially heard evidence that relates to their case. Is that an accurate way to describe, do you think?
It's an ideal way of describing it because they have, it's like insider trading.
Imagine for a minute you had a person on the DRB and a person on the Development Review Board who know each other.
Yep.
Different people. And they are regularly communicating with each other and talking about the business of each board. How would that be?
Well, it kind of violates that whole idea of separation and not talking about something that could influence you to say, well, yeah, he's a good guy, and we could change that.
So
That's not a big
two
deal.
people talking to each other. And what we're talking about here, it's not two different people. It's the same person. The same person is actually on both of these boards. We have another call.
Oh, good.
Let's take that. I will hit the answer button. Hello, caller. Please identify yourself and ask your question or state your statement.
Oh, thank you. My name is Mary. I'm an Essex resident. I'm going to change the tone a little bit, I think. I've been a volunteer in Essex off and on for over 30 years, and I want to say how grateful I am to you for all this work you've done for you and Betsy and everyone else. And I want to know, what has your experience as for each of you as a volunteer been volunteering for Essex? And this is coming because Andy Watts had said he doesn't think we need a charter change. We just need more volunteers. So I would like to know, what has been the experience for all of you being a volunteer for Essex? I have my own opinions, but I'd like to hear yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to answer that at all?
Well, I'll be last. Cheryl, you're first.
Oh, I would love to start. I was a volunteer youth ice hockey coach, and that was an experience. When I retired, I was encouraging folks, the parents of the players, to please step up. And it was there was a dirge. Very few parents wanted to get out there on the ice and participate and do this. In fact, our head coach left town for the South, and I had to come back from retirement for 2 years. So my kid wasn't even on the ice, but I was helping out. So yeah, I saw everybody's busy. It was very difficult to get my son to have a play date with other kids because all the kids are running around, and that means parents chauffeuring their kids around. So it's hard to come by volunteers. That's what I saw.
Betsy?
Well, I do a lot of volunteering, and I've on the Conservation and Trails Committee that was directly for our town. It was wonderful. You have a vision about what you'd like to see happen, and we were making those things happen. We had a lot of responsibility, and we had accountability for what we did, and it was really a mind-opening to what you can and can't do. And watching other committees where they aren't getting much accomplished because they have holes, because they don't have enough people, and that it doesn't change what your quorum is if you don't have that place fixed. I think that volunteering really is special, and it doesn't take that much time if it's on a committee. Committees are great if you don't want to go to the select board and have that pressure that you have on you, because there's a lot of reading. There's still reading. We all have reading files that we have to do. But it does make my life happier, volunteering. It just feels good to get out there and do it.
Nice sales pitch.
Uh-huh.
Volunteering, it's a challenge. You know, one of the things I recommended to our select board is that we actually create a nominating committee, a committee of people who are pretty well connected in the town and know who has skill. We have a tremendous amount of skill in our town. And a nominating committee, I think, might help identify and buttonhole people to serve on committees. We have another call.
Oh, good.
Let's take that. Hello, caller. Please identify yourself and ask your question or make your statement.
Oh, hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for organizing this. I wanted to ask a question about diversity. How does Ballot and the board help or hinder diversity of representation in our town? I know Select Board member Watts had suggested more volunteers, but it seems like there might be other ways to achieve diversity of representation.
So your question is, how does switching from 7 to 5 increase or not increase diversity?
Yes.
Got it. Thanks. Who wants to try that?
I'll just make one comment. The 3 overlapping between the 2 boards, that's lacking in diversity.
So that actually lessens.
That's my
Yeah,
observation.
dilutes the pool. Yeah.
So by decreasing the overlap, there'll be more unique members to each board.
So instead of increasing diversity, it actually creates a kind of an incest almost. You've got the same
Right.
people. Yeah. Yep. So the answer, I think, for your question is it does not make the diversity any worse. In fact, it would improve it more than anything else, because right now the diversity it's connected with 2 different boards. These 3 individuals serve on both boards, so it's lack of diversity, in fact. So it would improve it, in theory.
Does she have a follow-up on that?
She's gone.
Oh, she's gone. Okay.
So we're back.
I would say beyond that, we could always do better with diversity.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one of those things we'll always.
I actually feel like we need to rethink applications for some of the committees that have unique knowledge that they need to have, and maybe professional knowledge. Maybe on our DRB we need to have people who are engineers, people who understand what they're talking about and can say, well, you know, you're talking about a 20-degree slope, and that 20-degree slope internationally and nationally is you don't vote, you don't build there.
Yeah, that's the idea of the nominating committee.
You know,
they would know the expertise in our town.
Yep.
It's their job to know our residents and
That's right.
and what they can and can't, what they know and what their expertise are.
And I think economic development needs more people who are businessmen who are on that committee, because again, they know what to look for, how to present Essex, and then this is why you would want to come to our wonderful town and have your store there. So I think that diversity is important, and I think that
And skills.
skills are equally important.
And values.
And their values, yeah.
I think personal values goes a long way.
Well, I would think that not having the overlap, you can focus on your specific job. I'm on the DRB, I'm a quasi-judicial board, I hear hearings, I apply the regulations, that's all. Whereas I'm on the Planning Commission, I am looking at the town plan, the desires of the town residents, and I'm creating regulations.
Right.
And you really don't want the two. That's the whole idea.
Keep it clean.
So let's move on to the next general area. So I was just at the candidate forum, and I heard it said, and it's true, this will not permanently solve the problem.
No. It's a beginning.
It's the beginning? Okay, so let's talk about that. What would be required in order to permanently set the number of members on the DRB and or prevent the overlap?
We'd have to have in the charter that it's a 5 and 5.
So why didn't we do a charter change
overlap.
right away?
Because the charter change takes a whole lot of work, number one. It's not a little teeny thing to just write up a little ditty. And the legislature, and it's in its last bit of this biennium. Mid-session of this last biennium, and they are scrambling to get the things that they have got on the board.
I'm so sorry. We have another caller.
Okay.
Oh,
What was that for? I'm losing count. Stand by. Hello, caller. Please identify yourself and ask your question or make your statement.
Hi, this is Mary from Essex again. I just wanted to talk a little more about volunteerism as far as what I've experienced. And I'm wondering, what does it feel like for you? Was it like what I've experienced, where we spend all this time, lots of time, to try to be of help to the town, and I feel like the select board does not listen, not all of them all the time. They don't listen, they have their own agenda, and it's like a waste of time. And I know they complain that they can't get volunteers, but my personal feeling is because, you know, they don't listen. So I'd like your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Interesting, because here we have a charter change committee that made a specific recommendation to the select board, and then what happened? Right? That's the point.
They did what they wanted.
So you served on a committee, a town committee. Cheryl has not yet. Am I correct?
I have not yet.
I'm going to ask Betsy. So you served on a committee. Do you feel as though the select board and or whatever board you're advising on that committee respects your advice?
Well, it can depend on what it is you're doing. They get mired in the woods and the
select board or
the select board. So the Conservation and Trails Committee, we have a fund that we have to purchase land for a trust, to do for conservation for a trust, and we have that money can also be used for other items, and they're very reluctant to let us have any of the money. And then when we were trying to do grant work, that was probably the worst thing. The grants, when you have to get these applications in on time. If it's an hour after the time, they're saying, "Oh, sorry, you missed. You have to come back next year," and that affects what we can do in Essex, not getting these grants.
I think your point is, if the select board was more responsive,
and they are not responsive,
then volunteers might come forward more.
That's right, and I also think that we do something that I don't see done in many of the other committees. On our committee, and we started doing it more when Ken took over the chairmanship of the board, the Conservation and Trails, was when you have the public come to the meeting. First, to get there, it's an effort in the middle of the evening that they've got maybe kids and whatnot, but they come to the meeting and they have a concern. And in most of the meetings, it's, "Oh, okay, there it is. She said it, goodbye. Who's the next one?" We took time to talk to the person, to understand what they wanted and what they were doing. And if it was an important enough thing, because we're not going to think of everything that needs to be done in the town, but if it's something that is brought to our attention, then we put them on the agenda the next week or the next month. And that's really important. They get it, and that they're listening to me. So people come, and we don't have a problem getting people to take a seat in our committee.
So let's get back on. Oh, yep. Quickly, we're running out of time.
Sure. As a resident, I've come before quite a few of our boards, and I've experienced some boards where I felt like what I was said just in one ear, out the other. But there were a few boards, like the Conservation and Trails Committee, the Housing Commission, and the Economics Development Commissions. They've all taken the time and actually interacted with me when I brought up an issue or made a comment. So having that back and forth is really shows that they value what the residents have to say.
So we only have 9 minutes left. So I want to make sure we finish talking about what would be next, why we didn't do the charter change right up front. So Betsy, you've already indicated that mid-session in the legislature is not a good time to do a charter change.
Right.
Probably would be, and then would have to be reintroduced and the whole process. If this passes, and the 7 of us or others want to make this more permanent, are you willing to go door to door if necessary? Well, first, of course, you would lobby the select board to put it up, put this on the next, make a charter change to make this a permanent change, or it would have to be again by petition. So I'm curious to know: are you guys willing to pound the pavement again? Let's say in another year.
Yes, and I'm sorry.
I was hoping that by having this ballot question, they saw we went through the process.
The select board would
I'm hoping they'll be more responsive to residents after the vote, whichever way it goes.
Well, one way or the other. So if it passes overwhelmingly, the select board might take the initiative and make the charter change on
their own.
Yeah, because they can change that. They don't have, it doesn't have to go to the state to get that done. But it makes it more permanent. I think if you go to the state and you get it, it's going to be a 5 and 5.
It would be a part of the charter.
Yeah, it would be part of the charter. And I think that's worthwhile.
Yep. So the state legislature, the state statutes, I think, allow DRB and or Planning Commission to be from 5 to 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if a charter, maybe it can set the number, but the overlap probably it could be set in the charter.
Well,
Lack of overlap.
I just think that the volume of people we have to pull from is less, and having those open spaces is harder on the committee than it is if they had a full load, and 5 would be much easier to fill, I believe. And if it's 5 here and 5 over there, they may talk to one another still about things that are going on, but they're not influencing what's happening.
So I think there was an argument in Front Porch Forum today or yesterday that 7 is better.
Well, why would 7 be better? We only have a 5-member select board.
The case being that it's easier. The point, I guess, was that it was easier to get a quorum versus 5. When I did the math, the difference in percentage is tiny. 4 of 7 versus 3 of 5. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Why do you think that the case might be made that 7 is better than 5?
Well, I think that the 5 is, I think 5 is better. Of course, that's why I'm here. But I think that the 7, it doesn't make it better. It just makes it unwieldy. And
Meetings are longer, more people have to speak.
yeah, and if we make it so that it's 7 and no overlap, you've got a lot of people to fill in there.
That's true.
And that's harder. That makes it harder on the town. And if we also put in there with the charter change for a particular committee or whatever, we encourage to have people who are engineers or whatever, that kind of thing of expertise that you would need there. I think that 7 is different than 5, and I don't think it's better. I think it's harder.
It occurred to me that if 7 is better for the Planning Commission and or the Development Review Board, why isn't there an advocacy for 7 on the Select Board?
Yeah.
It occurs to me that if 7 is better, why isn't that on the Select Board as well then? So I'm just finding that argument hard to understand exactly.
So realistically, we're talking about all of the boards.
I guess
Zero
so.
overlap.
And
all
apparently
members.
we had trouble filling 2 boards with 7 and 7. We did not get 14 people to apply. So that's why we have the overlap that we have.
And if those are open seats, then it affects the quorum that they need to have and their vote. They don't just get to say, well, there's really only 5 of us. There's not 7 of us because we've got 2 holes. Well, too bad. You still have to have the 4.
And we've had canceled meetings because they couldn't all meet at the same
They
time.
never had the special meeting.
They didn't have a
Yeah, the idea of a
quorum.
quorum seems to me to be a bit of a red herring because, okay, you can't have a meeting on this day. You can have a special meeting a week later when people can make it. So we're coming down to 5 minutes of our time together. So what I'm going to suggest we do is think about sort of a wrap-up type statement. And I think it's important to remember, and for folks to remember, that even though this is a ballot question, it just so happens that the stars line up just right, so that if we reduce the Development Review Board from 7 to 5, we will reduce the overlap to just 1.
For a year.
What's that?
For a year.
For a
'cause
year at
that's-
least.
Yeah.
Yes, it's absolutely true that the Select Board could reappoint an overlapping member. The Select Board could change it again, I suppose, at their risk, I suppose. If this passes and the Select Board then says, we're going to change it back to 7, they can do that. I don't know what would happen in their next election, but that would not, that would be a risk, obviously. I'm just wondering now, or making sure that everybody understands that this is just the first step. Charter change will be required.
And you may find that, people really like having only the 5,
I would think the 3 people that have to do double duty right now might enjoy the break. I serve on 2 committees now, and they're just advisory committees. They're not anywhere near as significant, and it's a lot of work. So I can totally understand that the argument that this is too much work for a person to serve on both these boards and do a good job on both makes some sense, at least to me, because I do serve on 2 committees now, and it's a lot.
As a resident, I would have more trust in my government if they were able to put the time in, become informed of those application packets, which are just, some of them are so much history behind the application. It's just, they're thick tomes by the time they come to the DRB. I'd rather my board member put the time and effort in that they can, focusing on just that duty that they have, the DRB membership.
And they don't have to rely totally on the staff for the information, what's good and what's bad, because that's putting that staff member to making the decisions. They're telling them, this is what we'd like you to do, because this is blah, blah, blah. That's really a problem. They don't have the time to do it. I think that we have to be concerned about the influence that the staff has on the committee. And we have the potential for people getting erroneous things. That has happened this past year where the staff member didn't realize there was an HOA involved, and there was a really big to-do.
So having too much to do is a concern.
Really difficult. I think it's important.
So we have just about 3 minutes left, I think. So why don't we think about wrapping up? Which of you would like to go first?
Well,
Cheryl.
I was just going to say, the way I got involved in attending government meetings was something near my little sphere an issue was happening within my own little sphere. So I would say if something is going on in yours, become more involved. Check it out. It takes a while. There's a learning curve to figure out which board has what function and what the processes are. The staff are there was a brochure that they recently put out on how the public can participate in their government. So I'm hoping there's more communications, and it makes it easier on residents to see how can you participate to be more effective with whatever you come before the board with, whatever issue or comment or even something positive.
Excellent. Betsy, final words.
Well, I hope you all vote, anyone who's watching this, and everyone else too. But I hope, come out and volunteer. Come to the meetings. Find what interests you. Are you interested in economic development? Are you interested in trails? Are you interested in conservation? Are you interested in economics, housing? And you don't want to be on the board right away, but you want to go and see what they do? Go and get acquainted with the different things, because I think that's what we need. We need an engaged population in our government. And we need people maybe not to have 14 years or 24 years of length of time serving on one committee. We need to have a little turnover there. Maybe there needs to be defined limits that how you can be on a committee. I don't know, but I think it deserves a thought.
And I'll just say, if you would be uncomfortable with a husband and wife, one serving on the Planning Commission or one serving on the DRB, or two closely related people, or an employer and an employee, if that would make you uncomfortable, then you need to vote yes on 5. Vote yes for 5 on Article 5. I think that is the key, and it will definitely temporarily fix a situation that we think is definitely a problem in the town of Essex. So again, Ken Signorello, Betsy Dunn, Cheryl Van Epps.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you all. And just to remind, the 3 of us are not the only 3 that petitioned. There are 4 others as well. And thank you.